We're going to efficiently use our time. Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch. Today we're going to continue with a little bit of a transformation on the shop. Starting with this guy right here, because of course every shop needs a little bit of a distraction from productivity. Then our new $1,000 CNC plasma can't just hang out right in the middle of the shop, so we're going to get it placed in its home as well. But we need to get that up, the shop tidied back up, Volkswagen parts out of the way, because we also have a couple broken Land Rovers that need to get in here. When you have a collection of Land Rovers, that's a common theme. But a shop isn't really a shop without a TV. This one's nothing too fancy, but it's big enough that we should be able to see it pretty much anywhere in the shop. And the main purpose of using this one over something else is it is a plasma. So now we have two plasmas in the shop, but we need to get it up on the wall and not eating up floor space. So we went ahead and got ourselves a wall bracket. This guy is substantial and weighs like 150 pounds, but these brackets look like they should work out well. Got our wall plate here. But have you guys ever went and bought something that was supposed to make your life easier and just have it ultimately create more work for yourself? That's this guy. The wall mount isn't wide enough. We obviously have the tools here where I could have just made a frickin' TV mount and been done with it. But I'm like, no, Joe, that's not worth your time. These are only $25. You have better things to do. So what's that better thing? Cutting apart the $25 mount and making it fit. At the end of the day, it's not a huge deal because we were gonna have to modify something anyway, because we were centering the TV on one of the building posts, and being these protrude from the wall, we were gonna have to come up with some sort of brace on either side of the post. So I guess we'll just chop this apart and make something happen. Perfect. Now, what shop doesn't need a stainless steel TV mount? So there's a little bit of my thought process on how to do this. We're gonna have legs on either side of the mount going in sideways. We'll have two going through this bar here, and then two that go through the lower part of the mount. Some nice flange bolts and some serrated flange nuts. Only the best for my TV. I'm guessing at this point, I probably voided the warranty on the mount. So what I'm thinking is center it right on this pole, in between the toolboxes, above my dad's old desk, and beneath the gantry crane. So I need your guys' input on the height we should put the TV at. Well, actually I don't, because by the time you're watching this, TV will already be up. So I guess just let me know if you like the height, or you think I put it in the wrong spot, or you think I'm an idiot. So the center of my eye line is somewhere around here. So that's standing. Now I'm short, so we'll probably try to accommodate some taller people. So someone 6'2" would be somewhere around here. Let me stand back and look. Well, it's a black mark on a black pole. That's better. I think in a shop setting, that for the center line of the TV might work well. TV is 37 inches tall, so that'd put the bottom right above this outlet. I think that works. I think that's a good height with it being low enough for decent viewing, whether you're standing or sitting, and high enough to not be in the way of anything going on here or plugging stuff in. How about that? You don't even have to have bolts in it. So for these bottom ones, since we have the tube there, we're gonna use some stacked washers behind the plate to make up this difference so we're not smashing that in. Make sure it's all level still. Good there. Lock these side bolts down. Now, we just need to figure out how to get a 155-pound TV up 6 feet in the air. TV weighs more than me, and it needs to go over my head. So the neat thing about building tools for the shop that make life easier is that they make life easier. So I take pride in figuring out ways to do awkward things by myself, and tools like this gantry crane that we built make it much easier to do those things solo. Even though I have people in my life that will come over and help me whenever I need it, sometimes it's still a sense of pride to figure out how to do it by yourself. Later in the video, you'll see I had to have some people come help me because after all, I'm just not strong enough sometimes. So I'm definitely not an expert in rigging, so this could go south quickly. But we got ourselves a strap and we stole Sasha's blankets. So I wouldn't exactly hire me to lift TVs for you, but I'm kind of in an in-between strap scenario here, so we got it tied off to shrink a little bit of height. Otherwise, surprisingly, the tall gantry crane wouldn't lift the TV tall enough to go on the mount. So I guess here goes nothing. Decent. So what I'm gonna do is get it lifted high enough up to be over the desk before we start wheeling back too far. You know, safety first. Other way. All right, the only issue we're running into now is that gap in between the bracket and the TV. We don't have much real estate to move back, so we're gonna have to do a little swinging, I think. All right, now my problem is I need another set of eyes. I need to see what I'm doing behind there. Holy cow, we kind of got it. So we got the top hook on. Now we just need to get the bottom ones in. Way good. Hey, TV even still works. We'll call that a success. And once we get matching toolboxes and my dad's old desk refinished back there, that's gonna look pretty cool with the TV in there, gantry crane around it. And the good news is, we can watch more of this guy on TV all the time. Nah, I don't think even I'm that pretentious. I go watch a little bit of this guy instead. Our good old buddy Steve over from the Underpowered Hour. No one likes to watch me. So now we need to play Musical Chairs Battery Edition. Spring seems to have sprung early this year, so it's time to bust the old Eco Challenge out of hibernation. Last time we used this guy, we had it out for a little off-roading. And we managed to cook the brake fluid. It is a race truck after all. But the old brake pedal's pretty soft and squishy, and the brake fluid has seen better days. Not real confidence inspiring. So we're gonna squish a little new fluid through it and get back to driving what is probably my favorite Land Rover in the collection. It helps that it's yellow. But unfortunately, it is not the only Land Rover broke in the collection. Not Merlin, but the budget LR4 needs some attention too. So we'll get this knocked out, figure out what's going on with that. Chances are, if you own enough of these British guys, at least one's gonna be broken. So going with today's theme of doing things by yourself, this is a lifesaver. There's several different varieties of this. This is the one I chose, but this is a pressure bleeder for brake fluid. We're gonna pump this guy up. But we got this guy pumped up, and that feeds directly into the master cylinder reservoir. And this is the quickest and easiest way to push a bunch of brake fluid through, and beats the heck out of having someone pump the pedal. But what we're gonna do is start at the opposite corner, which would be the right rear, furthest one from the master cylinder. So we're gonna let that guy run for a bit and get all the nasty fluid out of the reservoir. Then we'll be able to work our way around. We'll go to the left rear and the right front, and then finish off with the left front, which is the closest to the reservoir. Being we're pushing constant fluid through with pressure, it's gonna work all the old fluid and air bubbles out, and we'll have a nice firm pedal when we're done. Much better pedal feel now. The next thing is we are going to check out the swivel ball lube. These are actually pretty sealed up in the world of Land Rover swivel balls, but I've never checked them, so we'll swap out to some fresh fluid. Not going to hurt anything to do that. So these have a fill plug up top. I busted that loose to make sure it came free. Buried there in some mud, you can see the drain. It's going to come out super quick! The other thing we have to contend with is if the wheels are straight, it can't fill the swivel ball back up. As you can see, it's blocked off in there. With it full lock to the left, you can now see the lip of the ball, so we can get past and get this filled back up. We're going to assist the draining a little bit with some brake clean. Now we just let it drip. While we're waiting for that to drain, we're going to efficiently use our time and not just sit and watch TV. We're going to do my least favorite job ever, and that's grease things. We're going to grease the drive shafts. But isn't this cute? Since it's my least favorite thing, I bought a mini one. It's just a little greasy. We do have our Harbor Freight knockoff lock and lube thing. This makes the job a little bit more pleasurable. That's a job that would actually be easier without the quick jacks. They kind of eat up the real estate that you want to lay in. My main reason I don't like grease and stuff is it just seems like there's not a way to do it without making a mess. I don't know what it is, but I just don't like getting my hands dirty. But either way, that job is done. Good to go for now. And still waiting for this to drain. Getting closer though. While the wheels are off, I guess we'll rotate the tires. This one will go back here. This one will go up here. This one will take over here. And this one goes to the back. And we are pretty much there. You can see a little bit of gear lube coming out instead of grease. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to a heavyweight gear lube. And then shortly here in the future, I'm going to be replacing the brakes because on the LS3 Defender, we happen to have a brand new set of Techstar rotors that we used for mock-up. So once we have our big brake kit on this, we'll pull those off and those will go on this guy. And at that point, since we'll be disassembling the axle, I'm going to reseal the swivel balls and I may pull the inner seals so the CVs run on the front diff fluid. But for now, fresh gear lube. One side down. It only took an hour. I mean, the actual work took like 3.5 minutes, but it took an hour to drain. That stuff either has a high or low viscosity. I don't know which one. That's what that has. We gotta start that process again. This side's coming out quite a bit quicker. We're not going to complain about that. It's real nice to see the swivel ball in great shape still. No pitting or anything. Pretty happy about that. So now that we got the rest of the poles painted, we're gonna get this little area protected up. The rest of the fab area against the walls is gonna have OSB. I like OSB for the ability to mount whatever to those walls, wherever. But for around this guy, I think some steel might be a better option. If any of you guys were around for when we were building the building, a few of the siding pieces were messed up in shipping and making them and whatnot. We were able to save a couple of those pieces, and this might possibly be a good use for those. It's funny how everything has to get messier before it gets cleaner. Or is that just with me? It smells like fish back here now. These were sitting outside. So, getting them looking good again. So right here I got the light switch for the lights underneath the mezzanine and our little fab area. For once in my life, I kind of planned ahead. Not 100% perfectly, but good enough. I left some extra slack in the wire going to that outlet because I wasn't 100% sure on how I wanted it all laid out. So being the plasma is going to sit somewhere in this area, I don't want to be reaching over it to flip the light switch. So I think that guy is going to move to the outside of the wall. Then we'll be able to just flip the light switch there. Should work. So this is super safe what I'm doing here. Still got the power on. Don't do that. I'm gonna pull the nails out of the box itself. So for now, we're just going to spin this around and nail it in. And we'll wait to make this permanent until we have the outside of the wall finished up. It'll probably come a little lower. And this will actually work out pretty slick. And I'll show you why once that last panel gets put on. I just didn't have enough strength to make that happen. We also got some extra corner trim from the exterior, so I think we'll dress up this edge a little bit. I need to leave a gap on this side to account for whatever we're putting out here. So there's the start of our little plasma area. That cleaned up the edge quite a bit. I did have a whoopsie. I mean, I am normally perfect with everything. No, I'm not. But I guess it's good when I bought the materials for the building, I bought some touch-up paint. Joe knew that future Joe would probably botch something up along the way. But no, outside of that, this is coming along nicely. I'll go ahead and order a 4-foot light fixture to go across that joist there. Shed some light down here. Even though it's not too bad, more is always better. I need to get this pallet out of here and go grab some isolators. Set the beast of a compressor on, and we'll be able to tuck it further back. It's gonna be a tight squeeze, but we are going to efficiently use our space here in our little mini machine shop. We don't have a lot of real estate under there, so we need to use it well.
You got it, old man?
Otherwise, I can lean against the wall. There you go. So being we got the yellow one sorted out and good to go, the next broken Land Rover is in. And unfortunately, it's now more broken than it was before. Some days, that's just what these things do. But as you probably heard, pulling it in, I got a little bit of an elevation problem in the rear. It's got a suspension fault up on the dash, and the fault is right there. We're all right height up front, and not exactly ideal in the rear. But it's been parked for a couple days, and that's probably where that issue stems from. But I parked it because we got some coolant on the wrong side of the hose. It's supposed to be inside, not outside. But not only there, we got some up front, and none in the reservoir. So we'll use this guy and pinpoint some leaks. And in true Land Rover fashion, when I tried to tighten this bleed screw down, we got part of it here, part of it in there, so that's not helping the situation either. Before we get too far into Joe's ADD, we're gonna put this on hold for a second and finish getting the plasma put away. One thing at a time, Joe. We'll be back to this in a second. I think that is gonna be a good little corner. It's kind of tough to see because it isn't the largest space in the world, but I think the steel liner should work nicely. And the darker panel, along with it being steel, will make it easier to clean. Not only easier to clean, it'll hide the dirt better. Because around here, we like that better than actually having to clean. No, we'll keep it clean, but it should stay looking nice longer. So the first time since we actually bought this thing new, it's off the pallet. And we got our isolator pads down. It sounds much better on the concrete than when it was on the pallet. Doesn't quite shake as much. But now is the moment of truth as to whether my measurements many months ago are correct. And this wall, which set the size of the entire mezzanine, we're gonna see if that's in the right spot. Or if I freaking botched this whole deal. It should fit. I designed it to fit this exact machine. All right, we're gonna try and do this very carefully without spilling water everywhere. That poses a problem. We're a little tight over here. We'll make it work. All right, we're gonna have to get the welder out of here. It's almost like it was designed to fit there. Frickin' stoked we can stuff this guy underneath here. Perfect little spot for it. We're gonna cover up the ceiling. I have an exhaust fan sitting up in the little garage waiting for this. It's a big old 18-inch one, and we'll put that right there. Then I think right on this front edge, somewhere here, then come around and wrap the side here. We'll do a welding curtain to keep the air compressor protected and all the dust and smoke shooting that way and not out here. So in my infinite ability to master organization, I lost one of the computer towers that we used to control one of the old plasmas. I still have one of the two. I'm missing one. It's gotta be somewhere, so I figured I'd check out our last little storage unit. Wheel spacers galore, discovery parts, computer, not yet. So I guess we'll continue on the search. Good news is we still have the one computer we can use. I always like checking on my Discovery interior collection. Never have too much of that. I mean, you can, I do, but I still like it. So I guess we'll go with this one for now. And to think, we almost ran out of Volkswagen parts. We probably need to make the thing work again. We gotta remount the plasma, mount the computer, then we got a TV. Not sure what to do. Let me know what you guys think. So this is obviously on wheels and can be mobile and rolled into the shop, but in all likelihood, that's not gonna happen much. So I have two different thoughts on this in my mind. What I can do is, this is the factory bracket for a laptop stand. We're gonna be using the desktop, so that's not necessary. So what we could do is make a mount for the TV to pivot off this guy, come up, be in this area, and therefore the monitor would stay with the machine if we moved it. Otherwise, we got wall space and we have wall mounts. So we could take the simpler and more permanent spot and mount it right on there with an articulating mount, and we could swing it around, tuck it away, do whatever we need to. I kind of like that option because in all reality, the most this is probably ever going to move is straight out if we need to feed a longer piece of steel through. I'm probably not going to go through the effort of taking it out into the main shop, along with we then won't be able to contain the mess. So if we did a permanent mount, much easier, and I think it'd look better. Permanent, or should we mount it to the table? I'm curious what you guys think. If that was the case, we could then turn this into a keyboard mount. The computer tower and the plasma. I'm thinking if we make a shelf off these two legs, plasma, computer tower, that would tuck nicely, would leave us room to have a future water tank, because eventually I want to come up with a system to drain the water bed into a jug and then refill it, so we don't have just water sitting here if we're not using it. But we'll get to that in the future, because we have a freaking broken Land Rover to take care of. Story of my life. It's a good thing I love these things enough to put up with them. I am well practiced in dismantling the engine bay in a 5-liter LR4. We obviously have a fair amount of coolant sitting on the valve cover. Whether all of that was coming from it before I broke it or after the fact, we're not quite sure. But we also have some sitting in the valley and on top of the water pump down here. Our water pump there should be good. That guy's only got like 10,000 miles on it. We did that and the coolant pipes underneath the manifold when we did the timing chains, so I would assume that those are fine, but I've been known to assume wrong before. So what we're going to do is put our little coolant pressure test kit on here. This is the right one for the Land Rover. We got various sizes, but this one threads right onto the expansion tank here. We got our little pump with our gauge, kind of similar to the brake bleed thing. We got a lot of themes going on today. This is going to allow us to put pressure into the system without having the vehicle running. Then theoretically, this should push coolant out of wherever it's leaking. Unfortunately, I think it's going to push it right out of our broken bleed screw. We'll put the other right one on it. You would not believe how much better a tool works when you use it correctly. I know, my mind's blown as well. Now we listen. It's obviously coming up through there, but if I block it off with my thumb, we aren't losing any pressure anywhere else yet. That guy there, it was leaking before I broke it. I promise you I'm not just making that up, but no, it was leaking before I broke it. So my guess is, I'm thinking that guy leaking out on top of the valve cover. So that's probably running down, filling the valley up that way, causing it to come out the front, out the back, making a real mess of things. Once again, the budget LR4, I believe, is a simple fix. Everyone says they're junk. As it turns out, outside of timing chains, they're just small junk. I can deal with like a $4 fix any day of the week. Let's let the pressure out so we don't make a mess. One of the small benefits of working on the same things over and over again is in our little junk drawer next to our Roku, safety glasses, tape measures, JB Weld, we got a spare one. So I guess what we'll do here is try and extract, do something, remove the rest of the old one. You know what my favorite thing in cooling systems is? Plastic. Because you heat cycle them a bunch of times and it doesn't go to garbage. Never. This just seems like, how did Joe put a pick through his finger? I think we finally got the rest of it. Alright, we're going to hit that guy with a touch of WD. I guess we'll try a new O-ring, although I don't think that's going to solve the problem. We got O-rings, so we may as well try. Well, hey, guess that did work. So we're going to let that sit for a bit, see if we hold pressure and that doesn't leak anymore. But if that does fix it, ultimately I think I'm going to order a new pipe. Next time I'm ordering parts, because that'd be kind of a silly thing to leave you stranded when you're out on the road or on a trip somewhere. I'm just trying to help future Joe. But it is the little things in life that help make you happy, like having a TV in your shop and our little mini fab area all cleaned up and getting pretty well equipped. I even think I found a home for our little press project. There's gonna be stairs there. This will tuck under nicely, and that will be our fancy new press brake. The shop has been a work in progress for quite some time, but we are getting pretty well equipped with all the stuff here, and it is gonna be a blast to see what fun stuff we can make out of this place. I appreciate you guys watching, appreciate you subscribing, and we will be having a blast in this little area. Now that everything is whipped into shape and all set up, ready to go, I'm super excited. We'll catch you guys on the next one. And before we see you next time, we'll probably have this issue sorted. Pesky air suspension.